I will say this much. When I talk about, I've talked to many people out there, and the issue that when I tell them that I'm for elimination of all victimless crime laws amongst consenting adults, I don't really get hostility.
Right.
The number one issue that people have objected to me have been my pro-choice stance, actually.
Oh, really? So that's still the one
That is the one that has really, that is the most divisive issue that I have personally encountered here. I will ask, I'll talk to someone and they'll ask me, where do you stand on abortion? I'll say I'm pro-choice, and they'll just say not interested. They'll hand me the card back.
Okay. Well, when are you doing some campaigning next? I mean, do you do this pretty much when you get off of work? Do you do it?
I do this on the weekends.
Weekends?
Yeah. I don't do this because I arrive from work and I'm tired. Mm-hmm. So what I normally do is during the night I'll do these printouts. Mm-hmm. I'll send emails, I'll comment on emails, whatever. Mm-hmm. And then on the weekends is when I'll go ahead and I'll walk my district.
Okay. Well, what are some of the? I mean, we've talked about some of the times that you've had, encounters with people that haven't been so great. I mean,
right.
What would be an example of, an interaction with somebody like a voter that went surprisingly well, or was?
I've encountered quite a few that went surprisingly well. Mm-hmm. They'll say, "God, I'm looking at this. You know what? You're right. You're right on this." I encountered one with an ex Orlando police officer.
Really?
I started talking to him. I thought, oh my God, a police officer. What's he gonna say when I tell him I'm for elimination of all victimless crime laws? Is this guy gonna just go ballistic? And he wasn't a small guy either. This guy was like built like a truck. This guy was a truck. I mean, he had like muscles right here. So I'm talking to the guy, and he's looking through my campaign, and he's saying elimination of victimless crime laws. You know what? You're right. I mean, if people want to see a sex worker, they could see one if they want to, And he agreed with me on almost everything, So that was a good encounter,
Well, I mean, do you still have a family in Florida?
I do. My mother no longer lives in Miami. Mm-hmm. She lives in the same subdivision as my brother in Valrico, which is close to Tampa.
Okay.
So she sold her house in Miami. This was before the housing market went down the toilet, mm-hmm. which is kind of nice. Mm-hmm. She bought a house there in the same subdivision as my brother. I've got a younger brother who's 10 years younger than I am. He's got a wife and 2 kids. Mm-hmm. He's got a son and a daughter. So even though I don't have any son or daughter, I do have a niece and I do have a nephew. So.
Well, I mean, what do they think about being running for office?
Their attitude seems to be that they kind of feel that I'm wasting my time.
Really?
We don't really talk about politics.
Mm-hmm.
My mother and I don't talk that much about politics. I wouldn't say that she supports what I'm doing, but there's not really much she can do since I'm a consenting adult. So it's more like, hey, Franklin, he's a grown man. Let him do. She can't really do anything. So as far as them supporting me, my brother has never volunteered to help me out. I've never asked him. He's too busy working and raising his children.
Right.
So my mom, she can't really do much because she's like 74 years old right now. Mm-hmm. So, and that's basically it. I mean, I don't really have a lot of family support with respect to my campaign. This campaign has been essentially one consistent campaign volunteer, which has been James Coakley. He's been there since the beginning in 2006.
Mm-hmm. Well, a lot of people, growing up, they sort of get their political ideology, one of the biggest contributing factors to that is, your parents.
Right.
Do you feel like you maybe got your sort of libertarian leanings from them, or is that something that sort of came out?
That came from outside them.
Really?
Yeah. In fact, I think that politically, I would say that I disagree with a lot of what my parents, for instance, she's against all firearms. She doesn't believe in firearms. I believe in an individual's right of self-protection, which includes as a corollary the right to keep and bear arms. The right to go out in public if they feel safe to carry a concealed firearm for self-protection.
Okay. Well, how do you think you sort of came about, leaning towards the Libertarian Party?
I think the primary one was I took, when I was in Miami-Dade Community College, there was this one professor called Jay Brown, and I got introduced to the idea of libertarian ideas, I would say, through the readings of Ayn Rand.
Oh, okay.
The Fountainhead, and from there I read up a little bit on it, and that's how I got really introduced. It was an introduction to philosophy class that I was taking as a requirement at Miami-Dade Community College. Okay. This was back in probably I would say 81, actually 82, 83, around that time frame.
Okay.
God, it feels almost like an eternity.
Well, did you, when you were growing up, or when you were going to community college, would you have ever envisioned yourself running for office?
Never. Never.
Okay.
I never envisioned myself running for political office or wanting to run for political office. I have no parents either that the closest I've come is I have an uncle in Cuba who was a member of the Cuban Communist Party.
Okay.
In his later years, he became disillusioned with the party.
Okay. Well, do you still have family in Cuba, or?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. Well, I don't know if there's anything else that you kind of wanted to touch on, or?
We can discuss issues if you like.
With us, I think in regard to this article, I think we kind of weren't really necessarily wanting to lean towards the issues so much, but just sort of basically just about you more personally.
Okay.
It's not like we're not going to mention the issues. Definitely, the stuff will be on there, and
Sure.
all that. But if you could say anything to the voters, is there anything that you wanted me to put in the article, or is there anything that you'd like to say to people, or?
I'd like to say people that a vote for Franklin Perez is a vote for liberty and freedom. I'm not running because I want to take. I want to be in your face or be inside your personal life or take money or tell you what you can do with your personal life. I'm quite the opposite. I also wanted to let the voters know that the fact that I don't have big money contribution coming in, that I won't be beholden to party politics for the $500 special interest, $500 contribution to special interest. So that's basically it in a nutshell. I'm not doing this because I'm getting paid to do it. I'm doing this because I believe in a limited form of government. Freedom, individual liberties, etc.
Well, one of the things that I always found interesting was sort of the way you put it, I think in an email or something that I read, just basically that getting elected would be icing on the cake.
That's correct. So even if I don't win, I feel that to some extent I still win because these ideas are going out there onto the public. So if one of the two parties wishes to steal my ideas and they have one of their guys elected, you know what? That's great. I won't have. It'll save me a trip to Tallahassee. It will.
Well, I've talked to people before too, and I think a political science professor said that when you run as a third party, a lot of times what the eventual goal is to sort of get your platform assimilated.
That's correct.
Into other platforms and into the major parties, and
if that happens, that's fine. But if it doesn't. Then I'll be around every 2 years until I'm not able to financially do this anymore.
Okay.